Hello, Ma'am Elenita. I'm Jessril Tasik from BSED English 1B. Today I'm going to tackle the Week 7 module in Linguistics 2. So, first, I'm going to discuss the outstanding contributions of the following in linguistics. So, first is Aristotle. Aristotle's importance in the professional study of language consists, first of all, in the fact that he demythologized language and made it an object of rational investigation. In the context of his theory of truth as correspondence, he also provided the first semantic analysis of propositions, in that he distinguished two main constituents: the predicate, which expresses a property, and the remainder of the proposition, referring to a substance to which the property is assigned. Um, Aristotle thinks that human language is social and diverse. So he regards human language as a kind of man made arbitrary symbol. The meaning of this symbol is not from the voice itself, but established by convention among human beings. Next is Robert Lode. Robert Lode, an academic and Anglican bishop, compiled a short introduction to English grammar. So it was an extremely successful work that was reissued around 45 times between 1762 and 1800. On this page is a list of irregular verbs, which includes forms of the past tense and past participle, no longer in use. So, the principal design of a grammar of any language is to teach us to express ourselves with appropriate in that language. Next is Sir William Jones, 1746 to 1940 to 1794. Is best known for his famous Third Discourse of 1786, in which he proposed that Sanskrit's affinity to Greek and Latin could be explained by positing a common, earlier source, one known today as Indo European. This brilliant thesis laid the groundwork for modern comparative linguistics. Engraved portrait of Sir William Jones after a painting by Sir Joshua Reynolds, India in the English language. So Jones announced his discovery of the relationship between the Sanskrit, Greek, Latin, Gothic, and Celtic languages, marking the foundation of comparative philology and and historical linguistics. Next is Ferdinand de Saussure. Ferdinand de Saussure, 1857 to 1913, the founding figure of modern linguistics, made his mark on the field with a book he published a month after his 21st birthday, in which he proposed a radical rethinking of original system of vowels in Proto-Indo-European. So next, I'm going to explain the historical development of language, evolutionary or Darwinian. So, Darwin describe how language might have evolved through natural and sexual selection. So he compared birds learning to sing to infants babbling. An early progenitor of man, he wrote, probably used his voice as did the male gibbon to produce musical cadences for courtship and to compete with other males. So next, I'm going to describe, or explain the following. So first is Romance languages. The Romance languages are a group of related languages, all derived from Bulgar Latin within historical times and forming a subgroup of the Italic branch of the Indo European language family. So, the major languages of the family include French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and the last is Romanian. So, next is the Proto Germanic or Germanic languages, and it has a three groups. So scholars often divide the Germanic languages into three groups. First is West Germanic, including English, German, and Netherlandic or Dutch. Next is North Germanic, including Danish, Swedish, Icelandic, Norwegian, and Faroese. And the next is East Germanic, now extinct, comprising only Gothic and the languages of the Vandals, Burgundians, and a few other tribes. So, for the next is Indo-European languages. So this is a family of languages comprising those spoken in most of Europe and in the parts of the world colonized by Europeans since 1500 and also in Persia, the subcontinent of India, and some other parts of Asia. So for the next is Sino-Tibetan language. So this is a group of languages that includes both and Chinese and the Tibeto-Burman languages. So in terms of numbers of speakers, they constitute the world's second largest language family after Indo-European. So including more than 300 languages and major dialects. So for the next, I'm going to explain the following. So first is Grimm's law. Grimm's law defines the relationship between certain stop consonants in Germanic languages and their originals in Indo-European. So these consonants underwent shifts that changed the way um, they are pronounced. So for the next is the great vowel shift. So this is the change in pronunciation of the long vowels of Middle English that began in 15th century and continued into the 16th century, in which the high vowels were diphthongized and the other vowels were raised. So next, I'm going to discuss the history of English language. So, first is the Old English. So, Old English is a West Germanic language and developed out of Ingvaeonic, also known as North Sea Germanic, dialects from the 5th century. It came to be spoken over most of the territory of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. So, which became the Kingdom of England. For the next is Middle English. So this is a period of roughly 300 years from around 1150 CE to around 1450. It is difficult to identify because uh, it is a time of transition between two eras that each have stronger definition. So the Old English and the Modern English. So next is the Modern English. It is the form of English language spoken since the Great Vowel Shift in England. So which began in the late 14th century and was completed in roughly 1550. So next is the early modern English. Early modern English is said to span roughly the years from 1500 until 1800. So this period is termed the Renaissance. So the language of this Elizabethan age is much more closely related to our modern English today. And for the last is the late modern English. So the late modern period is the first in the history of English, for which an unprecedented wealth of textual material exists. Using increasingly sophisticated databases, the contributions in the volume explore grammatical usage from the period, specifically morphological and syntactic change in a broad context. So that's all.